Well, if you're just joining us, we were listening in to a press conference there in downtown Paris. It's either the far right or us. That statement coming from the Green Party's Marine Tondelier, her group, along with France Unveiled, the Socialists and the Communists, holding this joint press conference where they unveiled their new alliance called the Popular Front. This, of course, ahead of the first round of snap elections on June 30th. They promised a total break with the policies of President Emmanuel Macron. Joining me on the set is our French politics editor, Marc Perelman. Hello to you, Marc. They mentioned some 150 measures that would be a radical change in policies. What was their focus on?
Well, clearly, we saw each of the parties involved in those negotiations essentially laid out two of the measures because there's obviously not time to list them all. But clearly, they want to repeal three key measures implemented by Emmanuel Macron: the pension reform, the immigration reform, and the unemployment benefit reform. They're saying this is one of the first decisions we'll make if we are able to govern after the snap elections on July the 7th. They also said that they would block the prices of energy and of essential goods, that they would rise the minimum age to 1,600 euros after tax. It's currently 1,400. And also, we heard them speak about some international issues that were a really major bone of contention between them. We heard them speak about their clear support for Ukraine's defense in the face of the aggression by Vladimir Putin. This was said by Manuel Montpart, the leader of France Unveiled, which has sometimes been suspected of being lukewarm in its support for Ukraine and in its condemnation of Vladimir Putin. And one of the others who spoke, Aurore Laluc, she's a member of a very small party called Place Publique, headed by Raphael Glucksmann. Raphael Glucksmann was the head of the leftist list in the European elections. He scored he had a good score, and she said, we came together on Ukraine, but also on naming what happened on October 7 in Israel, a terrorist massacre. This was also something that was not easily said by all the members of the left. And so they said we made incredible progress in converging those issues. And it's true. I mean, nobody would have imagined that the left would get together on a program, or at least, let's say, the outlines of a program, and also, maybe more importantly for electoral math, that they have agreed that they would field only one candidate in each of the constituencies. There are 577 seats for grab. It would have been a death sentence for all those parties if they had gone on their own, because this would have meant like four leftist candidates in the two-round system with a majority vote. They would have been killed, quote unquote, in the vast majority of the constituencies. Now, by fielding only one candidate, they really stand a chance, according to the polls, because this means that there will be clearly a very strong candidate from the National Rally and some of its allies on the right that they're trying to get, and probably someone from the left. And this obviously leaves a big question mark. What about Emmanuel Macron's party? The majority, they thought they would essentially attract moderates from the right, moderates from the left, build a central bloc that would ward off the far left and the far right. He had not predicted that the left would get together and essentially make it plausible that his majority will become a minority sandwiched between clearly strong far right. There's no reason why they would disappear suddenly, and an unexpectedly united left that poses a major challenge to his survival, at least to his party's survival.
Yeah, and we heard from a number of speakers. You mentioned Glucksmann. He wasn't there. Another notable absence, Jean-Luc Mélenchon.
Absolutely. His shadow was hovering over this press conference. Jean-Luc Mélenchon scored 22% in 2022 at the presidential election. And so this is why, when there was already an alliance between those groups after the election 2 years ago, this was an alliance totally dominated by Jean-Luc Mélenchon, by France Unveiled. They were able to get 150 MPs in parliament, but clearly the dominant force was for France Unveiled. This is not the case anymore because, as I just mentioned, the socialists on the left came on top during the European elections. So this means that France Unveiled had to compromise both on the substance, clearly on Ukraine, on the issue of Hamas, also on the issue of anti-Semitism. They've not been very clear on this issue. We've heard other speakers say we now have a clear mind on this very sensitive topic. So they've had to make compromises on the substance, but also on the number of seats that they're likely to get because they'll field less candidates than last time around. But obviously, Jean-Luc Mélenchon is still around. The far right and the majority of Emmanuel Macron are already attacking this alliance by saying, don't believe what you're hearing from them. They're just hiding their differences and hiding their true colors, because their true colors is Jean-Luc Mélenchon, who is known for his aggressive style of politics, polarizing figure. And so they're saying, if you elect them, you'll get Jean-Luc Mélenchon as prime minister. He was asked just a couple of days ago whether he would be a prime minister. He said, I feel I'm able to do this, but it's not for me to decide. There is an alliance. So obviously he's taking a back seat. Why? Because I just explained to you that if they don't go united, this won't work. You mentioned Raphael Glucksmann. He has this morning in a radio interview lent his support to this alliance, but he's also added, I'm not going to make any other compromises. And I can tell you this, if we win on July 7th, Jean-Luc Mélenchon will not be the prime minister of our alliance. This might be wishful thinking, this might be leveraging and so on. We'll get to know. But obviously, they've decided that this is their best chance, maybe to pull an upset and to win, because if the left would win this election, given where they are in the polls and where they've been in recent elections, this would be nothing short of a miracle. But clearly, the fear of the far right is their best weapon. They're going to use it. Emmanuel Macron was hoping to use it, but if he's not the most efficient vehicle to do so, the voters might decide, well, we might try our luck. We might not like everything they say, but we're hoping that they'll be more moderate than what appears to be the case if you look at their respective programs.